Good morning, folks. This is Deb. This is a rare morning video because I am home from work today because it's my day off. Nothing going on that's untoward, by the way. Um, let's just talk a little bit about some stuff, okay? Let's talk about the cult of UConn first of all. So yeah, it's a cult, okay? There's no question about it, okay? And that's because of Geno though, okay? And part of that is also Sue Bird, but let me explain something to you, okay? I don't hate Sue Bird, okay? Um, I I don't love Sue Bird. I respect Sue Bird as a basketball player, okay? And I think she was a great UConn player. Um, I don't watch her podcast. I do, well, I shouldn't say I don't watch her podcast. I do watch her podcast. Um, but I don't watch it I don't watch everyone. Okay. I pick and choose what I watch from Sue Bird. Okay. Um, because sometimes she and Megan Rapinoe get on my nerves, but that's neither here nor there. There's a lot of people who get on my nerves. Okay. Um, so, you know, Sue Bird is always going to pump up Paige Bueckers. Okay. And we also know that the WNBA recognizes the importance of good rivalries, and that's true of every sport. Okay, it was Bird and Magic. Okay, um, it was um, Magic and Jordan for a while. Okay, um, there's been discussions about there have been rivalries in sports forever. Okay, forever, and they are good for the sport. Quite frankly, it gets people talking. It builds excitement, it builds marketability, it builds revenue, and it builds and it builds viewership. So it's a healthy thing for the sport. So they tried it with Clark and Angel Reese, and that didn't work out so well. Okay, mostly because Angel Reese and Clark don't even play the same position, but neither did Bird and Magic. But at any given time, okay, um, Bird could play guard and Magic could play small forward. They were that talented, okay? So now the newest rivalry is going to be Clark and Bueckers, and everyone better just strap in for that because they're both guards. They were both number one picks. And, they're being called friendly foes. They played together in college, played against each other in college, rather. And neither one of them has anything bad to say about the other player. So we need to not hate on Paige Bueckers. She's certainly a great basketball player. Okay. Actually, a great number one pick and a great basketball player, but she's not Caitlin Clark. And I hate to break that to Sue Bird, who doesn't understand why Paige Bueckers isn't as popular or as loved as Caitlin Clark, and that's simply because she isn't Caitlin Clark. She's got great skill, okay, but Caitlin Clark's got all the intangibles that Paige Bueckers doesn't have, okay, including likability as part of that. Caitlin Clark's whole presence is amazing. Her maturity is amazing, okay, um, and so uh, you simply can't build that kind of presence for Paige Bueckers through public relations because Caitlin Clark's wasn't built through public relations. Caitlin Clark built that all by herself. She's a generational talent. Okay, she has revolutionized women's college basketball. Paige Bueckers is not a revolutionizer of women's college basketball. She's not a generational talent. Okay, you either are a generational talent or you aren't a generational talent, and you can't develop into a generational talent. Caitlin Clark is a born generational talent. Okay, I hate to break that to Sue Bird, but please allow me to. Um, but there's a guy named Geno Auriemma, and he has always irritated me. I disliked him even before Caitlin Clark was in the basketball world. Okay, I think he's a cult leader in my mind. Um, there are rumors out there that he convinced Paige Bueckers to take her fifth year of eligibility, which she had due to COVID, which also Caitlin Clark had. Okay, and the reason he chose to push her fifth year of eligibility was so that she could be assured of being the number one pick, because had she not taken that fifth year, she would have come out the same time as Caitlin Clark. Okay, and Caitlin Clark was clearly far and away the number one pick in 2024. Caitlin Clark chose not to take her fifth year of eligibility, even though I am absolutely positive that the University of Iowa would have loved to have her for a fifth year. Absolutely. It would have given them one more opportunity to try to win it, okay? Win it all. But Caitlin Clark said that she had nothing left to prove on the college level, and it was time for her to move on to the next part of her life. And she chose to come out in the draft, okay? Now, I don't know that it's true that that's the reason why Geno Auriemma convinced Paige Bueckers to take her fifth year of eligibility to avoid, coming out at the same time as Clark, or if it's just because he wanted to try to win another championship for UConn. Whatever. She did. She took her fifth year. She came out the clear. Well, maybe she wasn't the clear number one pick, but she was the number one pick, and she deserved to be the number one pick. She also deserved to be Rookie of the Year, and she was, okay? No question about that, all right? It could have been Sonia Citron. She definitely gave it her all. She was close, but I can't argue that Paige Bueckers shouldn't have won and Sonia Citron should have, because I think Paige Bueckers is a great player. But she's not Caitlin Clark, okay? Caitlin Clark's got that basketball IQ and floor vision that Paige Bueckers doesn't have. Maybe she'll develop some of that. Who knows, okay? But she's not going to be Caitlin Clark. But, in the recent Team USA deal, there was no conflict between Caitlin Clark and Angel Reese. In fact, Caitlin Clark made some nice passes to Angel Reese. She made some nice passes. She worked well with Paige Bueckers. In fact, Paige Bueckers publicly defended Caitlin Clark, saying that what they expected of her, this was in an interview she did last year, at the end of her rookie, at the end of Bueckers' rookie season. I don't remember when exactly it was, but I do have it somewhere in my files, that she thought the expectations of Caitlin Clark having to perform at that level in every game was almost inhumane. And, she was sincere about that. So there is no conflict there, but there is always a conflict in the fan world. So, of course, the one thing that they chose to focus on during Team USA was the fact that Paige Bueckers torched Caitlin Clark by hitting a three over her. Well, hold on a minute here, folks. Caitlin Clark has hit threes over defenders a hell of a lot taller than Paige Bueckers and a hell of a lot more elite defenders than Paige Bueckers or anyone else in the league, quite frankly. And she's done that at 6 feet, okay? So we can get ridiculous about this, or we can get more ridiculous about this if we want. Let's also remember that Caitlin Clark, until this scrimmage, which is essentially what it was a 3-day scrimmage camp, okay? It wasn't games. They weren't games. They were scrimmages, okay? And everybody got floor time, okay? And before Caitlin Clark got back into anything like that, she had been injured and not playing competitive basketball since July 15th. And I know because I was at that game in Boston. So let's make sure we set the stage before we start jumping around about the fact that Paige Bueckers hit a three over Caitlin Clark. Okay? And again, let me just say this. The one thing that everyone chose to focus on with Caitlin Clark was her defense as the outcome of the 3-day camp at Duke University. But let me just explain something to you. We have enough video of Caitlin Clark stealing the ball, blocking shots, etc., that we know that Caitlin Clark is a pretty elite defender when she focuses on that. But however, her coach, Stephanie White, told her that she does not need to be an elite defender, right? All she wants from Caitlin Clark is that she's not a liability on defense. And Caitlin Clark certainly is not a liability on defense, has not ever been a liability on defense. And we do have a highlight reel to prove that, which I will dig out. I have shown it before. It's been in one of my other videos, but perhaps at some point this coming week, we'll revisit that again. But I do have a video I'd like to show you of Caitlin Clark playing Paige Bueckers and the Dallas Wings earlier this past season after coming off injury and being rusty. And I believe she racked up 13 assists in that game. So I'm going to show, not all of it, but I will certainly show some of this video right this minute. Okay, so hang on here. Let's go back here. Okay, we'll start right here.
Rejection of Quinterly. Clark, the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown fever.
Even after needing time to adjust from missing 9 games, this turned out to be her best passing performance of year 2 so far. But first, to start the game, she had to break that shooting curse.
Dishing to Hull, extra feed Clark, a deep 3, you bet! And a sigh of relief from Caitlin Clark.
A relief indeed, especially after starting the season with real struggles from beyond the arc. But when she tried a heat check right after, it was clear she wasn't quite in top form just yet.
Clark, not that time.
But with her shot taking a back seat, she kept her head up, ready to dish out some dimes and get her team going.
She said that made her feel a lot better. That pass will as well. Right.
She stayed locked in on defense too, ready to snatch at any moment.
Yeah, been trapped more lately, and Clark comes over the steal. Here's Clark to go in for the lane.
It felt like a coliseum out there every time Caitlin touched the ball, and sometimes it was just too much for her teammates to handle.
Virginia. Clark bounces, Howard can't finish.
That's why, at times, she was forced to take matters into her own hands, even with double teams in her way.
At college, because they don't care about freedom of movement like that. I mean, Clark was fouled the entire way down. And finally gets the whistle. She'll shoot 2.
Dallas decided to stick a little pit bull on Clark, one who would get away with way more than she should. But with great spacing on the floor, Clark just stayed composed and connected the dots like only she can.
On her home floor. Here's Clark off the give and go, extra feed, and the lay from Howard. Outstanding.
But her teammates didn't always capitalize. The Wings were ready to clog the paint whenever they hesitated. So Caitlin showed a little magic of her own to slice through and make it happen anyway.
Won an offensive rebounding percentage.
But her rust showed too. So on the very next play, she slowed it down and stayed patient.
In anticipation of All-Star. Nice lead there. Clark to Howard for 2.
Again, the perfectly timed pass by Caitlin Clark. The one extra.
She was ready to show out this quarter with one clear focus: speed.
Clark the rebound. Clark flicks it ahead. Mitchell. Over to Cunningham. Cunningham, a free lay.
Her teammates were running the floor, and like a quarterback, she was out there throwing Hail Marys.
Cunningham attacked the closeout.
Clark the rejection of Quinterly. Clark the flick ahead. Oh, beautifully done. Touchdown fever.
A block and a full court assist in a matter of seconds. The perfect spark to ignite what would become a historic quarter.
Clark, 4 assists, 7 points. Bueckers, 7 points, 2 assists. Here's Clark. Bounces. Boston takes and drops it in.
But not every great hustle play got the reward it deserved.
Clark pokes it away. Another steal for Clark, who is unable to lay it in. Goes down in a heat.
No foul was called, but it's hard to tell if she got pushed in the back. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Meanwhile, the Fever were running away with the lead, and Caitlin, she wasn't done dishing just yet.
Comes Indiana. Clark back in. Off to Hull. Catch. Fire. You bet.
Every possession ran through her hands and turned to gold, perfectly threading it to Boston.
Giving it up. Boston through the lane, lays it in.
And when Mitchell was flying in transition, there was only one person who saw the vision.
One thus far. Clark, her third steal.
It wasn't Mitchell, though. She missed the wide-open dunk, so Caitlin put the team on her back and decided to try her luck from deep once again.
Here's Clark, being hawked by Isaiah James. Clark, sidestepping three, is good!
A seemingly regular shot, but for those paying close attention, the scoreboard told the story. Indiana had already racked up 64 points in the first half, the most by any team this season. And as you've seen, it could have been even more. But even with that big lead, Caitlin wasn't done.
To the corner, Clark able to keep her toes in bounds. Clark backing down Quinterly. 6 to shoot, fading away, and dropping.
The Pitbull just couldn't handle the weight Caitlin was bringing to the table, and when it came to those Hail Marys, this time Mitchell wasn't missing those open looks.
Still can't. Here's Clark flicking ahead. Mitchell alone lays it in.
With 8 assists already, it was clear Caitlin was fully in her passing flow, and with that pick-and-roll chemistry with Boston clicking, getting to 10 seemed like a walk in the park.
Leroux now.
Both in her post-game, and she's shown the ability to hit from deep.
Boston, sure. There's that two-player action with Clark and Boston. Even with the amount of games Clark has missed.
Even when Dantas checked in, Caitlin didn't miss a beat.
Clark dumps it. Dantas able to squeeze it in.
Her passes were looking like lasers, slicing through the defense, and with that, she notched her 17th career game with 10-plus assists. Dallas had no answer, so all they could do was foul.
It was unforgettable.
Yes.
Phoenix. Clark wheeling around Boston. Lobs it into Boston. Great positioning.
Even when they tried that, it just played right into her hands, baiting the defense perfectly. With all eyes on her, she effortlessly went back to dropping dimes like it was nothing.
Boston screen. Clark probing. Dishing. Gets it back. Thought about the three. Gives it up. Boston lays it in. And knocked away. Here's Clark flicking ahead. Mitchell the catch. And the finish.
How many getting? You know, we can stop that right there, and you guys can finish watching that video. But you know, for every one, you know, shot that Paige Bueckers takes over Caitlin Clark, we can show you a bunch of videos where Caitlin Clark, you know, as the headline of the video says, torches Paige Bueckers. Okay, if we want to go there, but we really don't need to do that because we don't need to build a cult around Caitlin Clark. Because Caitlin Clark's basketball speaks for itself. Her abilities, her vision, her intelligence, her IQ is off the charts, okay? And she is, without a doubt, in my mind anyway, and I know, again, I've said this before, it's an argument that may never be won. She is the GOAT, okay? And she's actually the GOAT right now in my book, and she is the future GOAT. She's only going to, her GOATness is only going to become greater as her career moves on, okay? And I expect that we will see the GOAT in beast mode in 2026. So that's where we are this morning. I'm going to try to come back again before the end of the day because I got a bunch of stuff, including some other videos. But I did want to make sure that I came on here and addressed the cult of UConn. You guys have a fantastic day.